Veteran Services is a component within the United States Office of Personnel Management that leads the government-wide effort to increase employment opportunities for veterans within the federal government. We were created as a result of President Barack Obama launching the Veterans Employment Initiative with Executive Order 13518 in November 2009. Since the inception of the Veterans Employment Initiative, there has been a steady increase in the percentage of veterans hired by the federal government. In that time, the executive branch hired the highest percentage of veterans since the mid-1970s. With that in mind, we created the FedsHireVets.gov website in January 2010 to establish a one-stop resource on federal employment for veterans. The FedsHireVets website serves as an information gateway to publicize useful information related to federal employment for veterans, transitioning service members, family members, and federal hiring officials. Classes and workshops are conducted throughout the year to cover the entire spectrum of federal employment. All classes are open to the public. For more information about our events and services, veterans can visit our website at www.fedshirevets.gov. So I would ask our veterans, transitioning military service members, and their families to take a moment and bookmark Feds Hire Vets, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook.
Welcome to the federal employment process. My name is Rodney Leonard, and I'm with the United States Office of Personnel Management. Today, we're going to take you through a series of segments to help increase your awareness and hopefully provide you with some information to increase your opportunities for trying to get a federal job. Let's begin by talking about competitiveness within the federal government. As you begin to understand this system, you will start to understand a little bit about the competitive process that you must all go through as you apply for a federal position. To begin with, all of you are probably very experienced, have education, and you must start to understand that just as you start to apply for a federal job, there are going to be many candidates just like you. So your challenge is to figure out how you can use that education to your advantage to match yourself better skill-wise and to take that experience and put it into an application so that you can increase your opportunities for federal employment. One of the things that you understand is that applying for a federal job does take a little bit of time. So it requires a lot of planning. What we require you to do is to pay attention to the details of the application and the instructions that you need to follow. So on average, there is no particular timeline. However, once you apply for a federal position, then you start to understand that that process that you go through takes a certain given amount of time based upon the steps that you must go through. Assessments, questionnaires, interviews. They all add up to a timeline, and once you get selected, then you go through a background investigation, and ultimately, you land that federal job. Benefits of working for the government, however, start with some of the rewards. We all would like to think giving back is the main reason we'd like to do this. Public service, one of the key elements of why we do this. Diverse careers. Within the federal government, you quickly can understand that you have a lot of opportunities to expand some of your knowledge and your experience that you currently have. The government allows you a lot of opportunities for training and development. In the government, we have something called the Individual Development Plan. So annually, everybody looks at their plan and starts to re-energize what type of long-term and short-term goals they would like to have when they're trying to move forward within the federal government. Advancement. The government is one of the few organizations that advancement comes rapidly, normally within a year after you start working. So you can progress at your own pace based upon your experience, based upon what you learn, and based upon the training that you encounter as you progress through your federal employment. Work-life balance is very high in the government, so today what the government loves to do is to balance your work and your lifetime at home with the needs of the government. So in many cases, there's flexible work schedules. There's what we call teleworking. Those types of things allow you to plan your home life around the schedule of your work environment. That's one of the keys to the government in recruiting that says flexible work schedules are a key component when you start to apply for a federal job. Competitive pay, we're going to talk about that, exactly what it means, but generally competitive pay across the government means that across the market, when you apply for a job in the government, you are just as competitive based upon the basic pay package and the benefits that you encounter in the federal government. Our system is based upon what we call general schedule, the competitive way to actually measure that. It's a predetermined scale that is put out through congressional mandate, which says that based upon the grade that you qualify for, you would be eligible for that particular grade level, and that's how you determine your pay. One of the things that we're going to talk about in our upcoming segments is that, in fact, one of the keys is to be sure that you are applying for the right grade. Many people start by looking at salary, and I always encourage people to do that in reverse factors. Says, what am I qualified to do first? What type of experience do I have? And then that will measure the type of pay that you would encounter. You, once again, can progress through several grades at a given time. Something called career ladder, recruitment tool. When you start working for the government, they automatically start to look at things like, how can we prepare you for the next highest grade? That's called upward mobility. So when you begin working, you start automatically training to move up in the government. So it's based upon individual motivation. Do I want to move up? Do I want a different job? All that's based upon recruitment and career progression. This is an actual pay scale. So when you're looking at the pay scale itself, general schedule scale, you get a snapshot of 4 of the grades here. So we have a basic pay scale that is set across the country, so that doesn't change. However, as you can see, there are some variances based upon locality. So locality pay is built into the scale that says high cost of living area, maybe a little bit more money based upon the basic scale. So if you look at Washington, D.C. versus other areas of the country, you will see some differences in that scale. If you're interested, the rest of the U.S., which is the bottom tier, is where we start to understand where all of the other cities who don't have a high cost of living area fit into that bottom tier. So this is the basic pay scale. We also have something called steps. So within each grade, we have steps, which mean that they are called within grade increases. So once you begin your federal employment career, you start normally at the grade that you got hired at, and you start with a step 1 scale. Progressively, after a year of satisfactory service, and ultimately 1 additional year, a 2nd additional year, you move up within the grades, step 1, step 2, step 3. The middle tiers are 2 years in between, and the upper tiers are 3 years in between. So ultimately, there are 10 steps within a within-grade increase. So a federal employee starts at step 1, and progressively throughout their career would end at a step 10 tier. Now, along each step, progressively you get a little bit more money, and that's how a federal employee within the same grade ultimately makes more money. So once you reach the step 10 grade, you are now maxed out on the scale. So the only way to progress further with pay is to move up within the grade. So I could move, as an example, from grade 5 up to grade 7.